everyone. I'm not sure if you can hear me, so thank you for everyone who joined. And could you kindly, at least one person, to drop a line in the chat to confirm that we can be heard at all? Fantastic. Thank you, Sally. So, hi, good evening, everyone. I don't know if you can see a clear picture, but we are currently based at the Government and Politics classroom at Isha College. My name is Meir Shabbat and I'm head of Government of Politics. You can't see me right now, but I will try to turn the camera, which I would later on point at Carl and Galvin and two of our current students, and they'll be able to answer together with me some of your questions. So if you can see me, that's who I am. You will carry on hearing me, but what I'd like to do instead is to point the camera to introduce lovely Carl. Hi, Carl. Hello. And Galvin. Hello. And unfortunately, because of the way we set up the meeting, because of security reasons and otherwise, you will be unable to use your microphone and communicate with us orally as we do here. But if you have any questions at all to us, just feel free to type them into the chat, and then Carl, Galvin, and myself, of course, will be more than happy to answer. So any questions at all, go ahead. Hi, Nora. Sorry. Hi, everyone. Introducing Nora, who just joined us, and she is a second year student here, and also will be more than happy to answer your questions. So thank you, Nora, for joining. And I can see that the questions are coming now. Cuddle says, how many hours of lessons per week do you have in politics? Well, I think I can answer that because it is a generic question. It's not a politics question. At Isha College, for every one of the subjects that you will be adding to your program, and the vast majority of our students are studying 3 subjects, 3 A-levels, you will have 4 weekly lessons. Each one of them is 1 hour and 5 minutes, and that's the standard. However, beyond the work that students put in the classroom, the expectation here that for every subject they will spend at least 10 hours at home preparing work, but that varies from one subject to another. And I think that some of our students will basically suggest that there are major variations in the amount of work that you need to invest in your private study beyond in your work. I will just take one more question, and then we can see if the issues we have here will be resolved shortly. Nikki's asking, which GCSEs do you need for politics? So over to you, Carl.
I don't think there are any general requirements for the GCSEs you need in order to come onto the politics course. I think anybody of any GCSE background or qualification background can do politics. And I think one of the most important things to say about the course is many people who don't have any background knowledge in politics do very well. I'm in first year and I've only been on the course for 6 weeks, but everybody's now on the same track, and even those who weren't involved in politics beforehand are enjoying it and doing very well.
Yes, thank you, Carl. I can confirm that. So generally, in order to study any of the humanities subjects that you offer at Isha College, it could be English or sociology, it could be philosophy or economics, business or history. The requirement is to have at least 4 in GCSE in English language. There are no GCSEs in politics or in sociology or in many of the subjects that we offer at A-level. And therefore, no prior knowledge is necessarily required in order to study and do well in those subjects here at Isha. Harriet is asking, what are you both hoping to do after politics A level, please? So I'm assuming that this is a question to our students, and Nora just joined us here, thankfully. And Nora is a second-year student, so she is on the cusp of going to university, and maybe she gave a little bit more thought to her future after Isha. Nora?
Yeah, so I've applied to university for a politics and philosophy degree. So I'm hoping that I can see that going into maybe a law conversion or some sort of legal journalism, legal political journalism. I think the good thing about the course is that you can apply it to kind of every humanities degree. So I'd say it offers a wide range of careers that you could lead on to.
Thank you, Nora. Galvin, did you give it a thought at all?
Yeah, a bit of thought. I'm hoping to do either a politics and history or some kind of combined humanities course at university, and then after that, maybe I haven't given that much thought, but maybe the civil service or journalism. It really depends.
Okay. Oscar is asking, what topics are covered in the A level? I think I can try to answer that. So the A level in politics. Sorry, Catherine, could I ask you just to shut the door there? We are hovering outside in the corridors. Hello. So yes, there are three main components to the politics A level course. The most significant part, up to 50% of the grade, comes from UK politics. So UK government and UK politics. This is where we cover things like the type of democracy we have in the UK, voting behavior, electoral systems, the political parties, the pressure groups, the question of human rights in the UK. UK government is part of British politics, part of this 50% of the A level. That would be learning a little bit about the institutions, so Parliament, the Prime Minister, the Cabinet, the Supreme Court. We look into the UK's constitution, and all those things together make 50%, half of the A level. That's UK politics. The second component is the political ideologies. They make around 20% of the specification or of the A level. We will be looking into liberalism, conservatism, socialism, and anarchism, four political ideologies that will be examined and compared with one another. We will look into how those ideologies perceived issues such as human nature, the role of the state, the ideal society, the economy, and such questions. And the final part, the final component of the course, we call it Unit 3 or Paper 3, that is global politics. So this is where we break away completely from everything we've done formerly, or from UK politics for certain, and we look into global issues, global politics, so international institutions, theories of global politics. We look into issues such as environmental matters, human rights globally, how well or otherwise they are protected, institutions of economic global governance, political global governance, and so on and so forth. So altogether, three components: UK politics, 50% of the course; the ideology is around 18% of the course; and global politics, 1/3, 33% of the A level. I'm scrolling down here and I see that Sam is asking to talk us a little bit through the syllabus, which is what I've done. Anna is asking, what would you recommend taking together with politics? Are economics and geography, for example, compatible with politics? So before I answer this question explicitly about economics and geography, perhaps we could ask our students here, what is the combination of courses that they're taking? Galvin?
I'm taking 4 A levels. I'm taking History, Dictators and Imperialists, which is one of our 3 history courses. I'm taking politics, I'm taking philosophy, and I'm taking sociology.
Thank you, Galvin. Nora?
So I take politics and sociology, but then I also take fashion, which is obviously not really a conventional one, but I find that they want to do lots.
And actually not so unusual for our students to study, among other things, fashion. Okay, Carl?
Well, I studied politics and economics, as well as French. I mean, in terms of how politics and economics work together, they are very good. They are very compatible. And I tend to find that a lot of the things we talk about in economics are related to what's happening on the political stage. We talk about what the Chancellor of the Exchequer is doing. So they do work very well together. I was going to take politics, economics, and geography. I opted to do French instead. I felt that I wanted a bit of a wider range of subjects personally, but I think politics, economics, and geography probably would work quite well together.
Yes, I have to agree with that, of course. Any of the humanities, but not just of the humanities, are compatible with politics. So the skills that you will acquire in politics, for example, essay writing skills and analytical skills, will help you with any humanities subjects. So you will be able to improve your essays in the other subjects as well, because politics will fit into that. And of course, some of the analytical tools that are acquired even in the sciences or in economics or business feeds in well into politics. So politics and economics is one of the more popular combination, and very many of our students also study geography as one of their subjects. What countries does the politics course look at? Okay, I think I prefer to answer this question because the global politics dimension of the course, and I'm assuming, Ruby, that this is what you're asking about, is offered towards the end of the course. So this is the final part of the course. So the students that we have here haven't yet sampled this part. So obviously in the first year, the A-level politics, wherever you study A-level politics, will focus mostly or almost entirely on the UK. So it could be British politics or UK politics. That's the first half of the A-level, as I've explained earlier. However, in the second year, there is a choice. Most centers, so most schools and colleges, sixth forms that offer politics, tend to focus on American politics. So they will be covered the American political system in the second year. They will be looking into their political parties and their pressure groups, their constitution and their Supreme Court, the American legislature, the equivalent to our parliament. And in the same way that we've looked in the first year at the political system in the UK, and they will be making some comparisons. Here at Esher, on the other hand, we are one of those maybe 1/3 of centers and therefore of politics students that actually opted to cover global politics, international relations instead. So in the global politics section, we don't necessarily focus on individual states, but we look into the global system as a whole. And within the global system, we look into maybe more powerful or more dominant states, and we try to explain their role globally. So we will be asking questions along the lines of, for example, is China now a superpower? Is the United States a power in decline? We will be looking into regional organizations, for example, the European Union or the African Union, NAFTA or Mercosur, and we will ask how significant are those regional organizations, organizations that bring together many different member states, like the European Union, for example. How significant are they as global actors, economically, militarily, politically, diplomatically, and so on and so forth. So there will be no focus on any specific country per se in the second year on their political system, but on their role on the global stage. And the only country that will be examined through its institutions, its political parties, its constitution, again, pressure groups, the type of elections and all that is the UK. So that's British politics. Alexander is asking how many students are there in a class? Again, I prefer to answer this question because it is a generic question. The answer is it varies from one subject to another and from one class to another within the subject. But Esher College's policy is that we cap classes ideally at 22. Occasionally, when there is a huge demand, we will have classes that are maybe 23 or 24 students in each one of those sets. However, by and large, I think, or at least on average, the number of students that you will have in every set, not just politics, is around between 18 and 20. So this is the class sizes that we have at Isha College, never above 24. And we will probably not open a class if we don't have at least 10, 12 students in that set. But of course, all the subjects run at Isha College. We never say, oh, here is a year where there is no sociology, there is no French, there is no politics, because this is a big sixth form college and we have enough students to keep several sets in every subject. In politics, for example, we have 4 first-year classes and 4 second-year classes. I hope it answers your question, Alexander. Morgan is asking, what topics do you study for politics? So I'm not sure if the question relates to what kind of GCSEs one needs to have for politics, but if this is the question, then again, we require in the humanities students to have at least 4 in their English language GCSE, and there is no requirement for any specific or any other GCSEs to be able to study politics. If the question, on the other hand, Morgan, is what are the topics that we cover within the A-level politics, then I tried to answer that earlier. Sarah, likewise, is asking about the entry requirements. There is a question here from CD. Is there any overlap with economics? Carl, do you want to answer that question?
Yes, so I touched on that earlier. There is quite a bit of a link between economics and politics, in the respect that if you're learning about the government's policy, that very much so is something that's covered in economics, because of course the government's policies affect the economic outlook, and therefore I think the conclusion would be that economics and politics very much so overlap.
Yes, and as part of the politics course, we would look into the economic policies of different political parties. So when we examine the political parties in the UK, we look into their policies, economic policies, among other things. And then when we move on to the political ideologies, we will ask, for example, what type of economy socialists would have liked to see, and liberals, and anarchists, and conservatives. So there is this dimension. However, there is an obvious overlap in the sense that there is a repetition between what we cover in this course and what the economics department does as part of their specification. And we also try to look into how the economic circumstances may influence voting behavior, to what extent they influence the way that people vote. Elisandra is asking, have you enjoyed studying politics? I think I have to leave that to the students. You can see some smiles over there. I'm sure that no one will be too disparaging, but at the same time, we would like to invite our students to be quite honest about the challenges that come with studying politics, including the workload, the level of difficulty, and generally what to expect. So perhaps we can start with Nora, who's the veteran here.
Yeah, overall I do really enjoy the course. I think everything we learn about is really interesting and insightful, but like Matt has touched on, it is a difficult course, so there will be times that you will be very stressed or very weighed down by the workload, and so it is enjoyable overall, but obviously there will be dips in your passion for it.
Calvin.
Yeah, I just echo the same sentiment mostly. I've loved it. It's very interesting, but it's also an incredibly dense course, and it's really a step up from GCSE in terms of how much work you have to do. I've already had to do a couple of all-nighters to catch up on my homework. But if you like politics and you come into it not having knowledge about politics, but still having an interest in it, essentially, that's the most important thing, I think. So it's manageable if you really like the subject.
Yeah, I think it's one of those, I mean, I feel like this kind of goes for any A level, but if you don't enjoy the subject, if you don't have a passion for the subjects, then you're obviously going to struggle more than someone who is really interested in it. So it just depends on your personal perspective.
Carl?
I don't mean to mimic what the other two have said, but it's very enjoyable, but the workload is very heavy. It's probably, as you've said a number of times since the beginning of this academic year, it's probably the heaviest workload of all the subjects that I'm doing at the moment. What I'd say is that unlike GCSE, where homework is sort of supplementing the classwork, with politics, doing the homework and doing the work that said outside the lesson is vital to any of your understanding and building your folder up and making sure you have all the information. You know, most of the work, or a large chunk of the work we do in politics, is outside of the classroom, in assignments, in homework. And personally, I think that's probably better for me. We do 10 hours overall per week, and a lot of that is outside of the classroom. So it's important that we have a pretty much a bit of a guide as to how we do our work outside of the classroom, which is helpful to us to give us a bit of structure in our studies.
Yes, thank you, Calvin, Carl and Nora. What I can say about the subject is that the students who carry on, who hang in, basically survives the initial phase and still are doing politics, not everyone does that, they actually enjoy it very much. For them, it's probably the favorite subject. And year in, year out, of the students who graduate from Isha College A-level politics, more than half, I think close to 75%, will then carry on to study at university a politics-related subject. So it will be either politics or international relations, which we think speaks volumes about their engagement or commitment, or how much they buy into it. However, there is a significant number of students who drop the course within the first 2-3 weeks when they realize that the workload is quite demanding. So the content is interesting, but the investment that you have to put into it is equally high. And that is not necessarily for everyone. The other difficulty with the subject is that it is not offered at GCSE level. So if you come here to study geography or a language, English or history, you have a general idea of what to expect because the subjects are offered at GCSE level. But politics, like sociology or philosophy, classics and psychology, some of the other subjects we offer here are completely new. And that's why we recommend that all our students will do what you are doing here, really, trying to inquire a little bit more into the subject before making the commitment. So it may not be for everyone, but those who endure, those who carry on with the subject, find it very engaging, very interesting. Morgan is asking, I'm currently doing AS level politics. How much of a difference is there to the A level? So I'm assuming that Morgan is in Grey Court or in one of those schools that offer an AS in politics. We don't offer it here. And there may be some overlap, but there is an overlap in some of the topics that we cover in the first year and the topics that are covered in the AS. However, they are done differently because the AS question and the A-level questions are different in character. So the type of essays you will write for the AS exam, and the AS exam is around 40% its worth. The AS politics is like AS in other subjects, is 40% of the A-level. But the type of difficulties and the type of questions and essay you are engaged with are different. And what we do as part of the course is to spend a lot of time learning about the exam techniques and how to address the specific requirement of A-level essays. And they're different to the AS questions that are shorter and probably less analytical and less evaluative. But yes, studying in AS politics gives you a general idea of many of the topics that we will be looking at here in the first year only. Now, the political ideologies and the global politics are not part of the AS. So that element is something new that we have to do here. And that's why if you come with an AS in politics from a different school, we will still ask you to repeat the first year, which is not really a repetition, because you're not ready to start the second year. You will not have covered the political ideologies and you will not have acquired the essay writing skills that first year students learn when they join. we are almost running out of time, and I see that there are still many more questions. So I don't know what what is your schedule for the rest of the evening, but we can stay here a little bit longer to answer all your questions. Ruby again is asking how important is history? So maybe the question is it a course about contemporary politics here and now, or are we looking into the historical development of the political system? Nora, would you like to answer that?
Well, we obviously do learn about it in often like the changing of Parliament. I mean, I don't know if you're talking about history like A level or how important history GCSE is. I didn't do history GCSE and I don't do history A level. And I think the fundamental changes that we learn about in the A level politics course is enough historical knowledge that we need. I don't know if that's.
Calvin?
I do history and I did a history GCSE, and what I would say is, in terms of the courses, politics is a lot more useful in history than history is in politics. So at ESHA we have 3 history courses and 2 of them cover the 20th century, and political knowledge is very useful in that. For instance, we do the USSR, and having knowledge about the division of powers, the difference between legislature and executive was very useful in studying the Soviet Union's institutions. But I haven't really applied a lot from my history course in politics, so it's not a necessity or anything.
Yes.
I would probably agree with what the other 2 have said. It's not really a necessity to have studied history at any high level to do politics. There's very little crossover.
Yes, and if the question, Ruby, is about do we learn about the history of the political system as part of the A-level politics, and the answer is actually no. The course doesn't really start in 1997, which is contemporary politics here and now, the current prime minister, the current political parties, the current we would look at the current government, and we would look into international relations as they are now. For example, we look into the Ukraine war, the Ukrainian conflict in global politics. It's a very contemporary course. However, there will be some knowledge that will be needed of some prime ministers prior to 1997, at least one of them. One general elections from before 1997 that we will learn about. And some references to voting behavior and the way that it has changed since the 50s. But beyond that, we don't look at any historical studies. Maybe there will be some references to the development of the franchise, the right to vote historically, but that is it. Here's the question for Carl, and Carl will have to be very diplomatic here. Nikki is asking Carl, do you prefer economics or politics?
I'd probably say politics, personally.
Okay, and obviously we paid him to say that, but I think it's fair to say that this is an individual question. So we have very many students who study economics. One of the more popular combinations, that and history, by the way, history and English, and it depends on the individual. Another question is, what does it take to secure a place in the course? Does everyone get a place in the course? Yes, normally yes, because we are one of the biggest politics centers in the country. We have 4 classes, 4 sets. Each set can potentially, theoretically, accommodate 24 people. Normally we start with a waiting list, but after a while, some students drop out and then there is a place for everyone. So others who were on the waiting list were able to join. If you didn't put politics on your application form, fear not, that's not a problem at all, because before too long we will have an introduction evening, introduction day, sorry, we call it, in the summer, and there you will be able to change your choice of courses once you've attended sample test lessons in the different subjects. Nora?
I actually joined the course late in the first year, so I was originally doing English literature, and then I think about 3 weeks into my first year, I changed politics, so I was able to get a place, and it wasn't initially on any of my applications, so I just thought I'd add that.
Okay. Ruby again is asking how many people are in the class usually. Well, everyone who is on the register, everyone who is enrolled is normally attending. So at Isha and in politics in particular, we have zero tolerance policy about attendance. So the expectation is that everyone attends. And that means that at the most you will have 24 students in class, normally 20 or below. So that's the general number. How much coursework is the grade? Nora, do you want to answer that? Is there an element of coursework?
No,
So-
it's all exam based.
So you have it in your fashion, and
Yeah.
there is an element of coursework in history, Galvin?
Yeah,
20%?
yeah, 20%.
Yes, and likewise in English. And languages are tested a little bit differently, but in politics, it's 100% exam. So there are 3 examinations at the end of the second year, and you basically do or die based on how you perform at that stage. There is no safety net, nothing to fall back onto, but we trust that by the stage that our students get to the end of the second year, they are well prepared for their exams. So they will not be caught by surprise, and they will do well. And our students do reasonably well. Well, they do very well. So 3 examinations, around 2 hours each. And that is the entirety of the A-level, no coursework. Here's a question that got 2 thumbs up. Does everyone who wants to do politics get a place? Sorry, I think we've answered that. So yes, chances are that you will be offered a place if that's what you've opted for. Okay. I'm not sure if there are any additional questions. If there are, don't hesitate. You can carry on and asking. I understand that some have left already to the next meeting with a different subject. So I'd like to thank you, thank once again the lovely Carl, Galvin, and Super Nora, we call her here, for their contribution. And thank you everyone at home for joining us. If you have any other questions, don't hesitate to email me. I have either via marketing, the people who organized this event, or directly to my email address. Thank you very much and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.